Hello and welcome, welcome to you, our viewers this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on air and online, thank you once again. We are live on NTN from the GIS studios for this weekend's Week in Review. We're looking back at the week that was and quite a few developments happening in the past week. The top among them being the tabling of the appropriations bill for 2020-2021. That is the budget address, and we will be going in depth with that in just a moment. My name is Jessie Leonce. I'm joined in studio as usual on this beautiful Saturday by my colleagues, Mr. Tony Nicholas, Ms. Lissa Joseph, and Mr. Carlton Cokes Cyril. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bonjour, bonjour, merci. Comme la coutume, messieurs, dames, toujours un plaisir pour nous bienvenue ici en Sainte Camadela. Vous savez, aujourd'hui, c'est samedi. Depuis c'est le samedi, c'est là nous avons pris temps pour visiter tout ça qui fait la semaine, et bien en semaine. Et nous avons pour être puis nous, parmi les bagages, nous avons discuté, nous savons, budget et budget par Premier ministre. Ça, c'est nous savons, chaque parole, nous avons aller dedans, qu'on nous paie parce que nous avons bien dit c'est un chai. Un chai développement, là, il vient pour nous, là, il vient pour COVID. Quoi, toutes ces informations, ces développements qui fait, nous avons ici en Sainte Camadela, un samedi bon matin, aujourd'hui, le 27 juin, non, moi, c'est Carlton Cokes Cyril, qu'on dit bien de ouais, aujourd'hui, à quoi la coutume, nous avons balancé. Tony la pour supporter moi, Jessie ni Lisa et puis mes bagages la balancer aujourd'hui. Nous en ici pour tout ça qui fait en semaine.
Absolutely. Just to go over the leading stories for this past week, Saint Lucia regained its 100% recovery rate. We're going to hear from the Chief Medical Officer this morning on that. Also, again, the appropriations bill tabled this week. We have an update on the St. Jude's Hospital. We got word that it is 70% complete. Also, St. Lucia ratifies the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons Living with Disabilities. And Public Service Day was observed this week. That was Tuesday, 23rd June. The countdown to common entrance, that is Monday. Dr. Fiona Philip Meyer spoke on that in terms of the kids' last-minute preparation at school and at home. Also, advisories this week were issued by the Met Office and Ministry of Health due to the Saharan dust, the plume of Saharan dust that overwhelmed us this past week. Health officials are scheduled to conduct a CAP survey, to improve its efforts to address COVID-19 in St. Lucia. And finally, more PPE donations here on island from the PAHO organization as well as the Republic of China, Taiwan. So stay tuned for the details to these stories and more coming up on the other end of this break.
Overnight, growing national unrest.
Society, a digital cashless society, one world currency.
A vaccine for COVID-19.
Droplets
COVID
virus. Macy's iconic flagship.
Track the coronavirus.
Everybody vaccinated on the
opposition to the lockdown.
An infected
conspiracy theories
about the coronavirus.
Truth about the origin of COVID-19 hidden from the rest of the world. And the Chinese.
In this constantly changing environment, resulting in sensory overload, cut through the noise and tune in to the National Television Network, the official source of information, all facts.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us on air and online, a special welcome and good morning to you. We are live on NTN right now, bringing you the information, the details, the developments from the week that was. Of course, we did get word that St. Lucia regained its 100% recovery rate on COVID-19. The 19th case, which was the only case that was active so far, has since recovered. She was being treated at the respiratory hospital in isolation, and we've gotten word from the Ministry of Health and Wellness that she has recovered. We now go to a clip with the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmar George, giving information to that effect.
St. Lucia currently has on record 19 cases of COVID-19. The last case was diagnosed on June 4th, 2020. This individual has now recovered fully and has been discharged from the hospital, giving the country a 100% recovery rate. As such, there are no confirmed cases of COVID-19 currently in care. Testing results received on June 24, 2020 indicated 27 negative test results. A total of 1,619 tests have been carried out to date. There are now 306 people in quarantine. Most of those are nationals repatriated from cruise ships. All persons in quarantine are doing well with no symptoms of COVID-19.
Was Dr. Sharon Belmar George, the Chief Medical Officer, speaking on us regaining our 100% recovery rate from COVID-19. But the alert is not down. Persons guards are not down in the highest of offices. We continue to be vigilant here in Saint Lucia. The COVID-19 situation continues to be an ever-present reality, and we encourage you, despite the 100% recovery rate, to continue to observe the protocols. We're still under a state of emergency. I know I've said it 100 times before, but it is so uber important that we understand that we need to be on guard, protecting ourselves and our families from this COVID-19 threat.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
No, I think what is really important is that it has been a team effort. I mean, we've been commending the CMO, her team, our frontline workers, but it's really commendable how we responded as a country, as a whole. You know, yes, there have been a few incidents here and there, but when you compare what is happening in the outside world, and when you look at Saint Lucia, 100% recovery, 19 cases, and let's not forget, 0 deaths. You know, at a time when persons have been commenting about our healthcare system, our healthcare providers, we have to reflect and look at, you know, how well we've done as a country. But again, that having been said, it's not over yet. It's not over. We're not sure when it's going to be over. So again, persons have been reminded to, you know, obey the protocols, you know, practice the sanitizing, the washing of hands and what have you, the wearing of masks, because these are some of the things that will help us to continue to control this pandemic in our region.
Yes, Tony, absolutely. Cooks, I'll let you go just a minute. Just want to say that. And even while we are touting, you know, the recovery rates, we ought not to be discouraged if we were to have a spike, because then it wouldn't mean that that the authorities may have relaxed their effort or the alert level, or that for some reason they are no longer effective, or you would say that they're doing magie in our parlance. No, because that is the nature of a virus. And so you can never really tell conclusively that you will never have an infection again. No. And so we may wake up tomorrow and find that we probably have 5 new cases or 10 new cases out there. So it doesn't mean, if that were to happen, that for some reason we are no longer doing good work. That's just the nature of it. So we must be very happy that for now we are at this stage. However, the guard, as you said, Tony and Jesse, the guard must remain up. And as individuals, we must help the healthcare professionals. Yes. We must do our part, wearing of the mask, making sure that you sanitize, wash your hands you know, when you have the water and soap at your disposal, and making sure the physical distance. Because, you know, now they're trying to remove that idea of the social distancing, and replace it with that physical distancing. We want to make sure that you keep the physical distancing at all times. So if we play our part and we continue to do as we are advised, I think we can really push through this terrible pandemic.
And I think very often sometimes we really hit ourselves with sticks in this country. We really have to look at what has come out of this. You know, very often you see the negativity, the misinformation. And take, for example, what happened with the reopening, well, not the reopening, the partial opening of schools for the common entrance and CXC students. There was a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of panic and misinformation being put out there, you know, and so far it has worked well. You know, so sometimes, you know, we look at things and we put things out there without dissecting it, without going through understanding what is being done. I mean, it's all good and well to comment. You know, this is our country. We have to participate in what is happening. Yes. But at the same time, we have to be very careful when we put out there the misinformation and causing unnecessary fear and panic in the minds of our citizenry.
And rightly so, and just to add, for lack of a better term, my 2 cents to the conversation, it's a combination of what we are saying here. It doesn't mean a mask on its own prevents you from contracting the virus. It doesn't mean washing your hand on its own will protect you. It doesn't mean keeping the social distance on its own. Enfin, ça nous a dit qu'on nous commence bon matin bagay qui bien important nous a dit nous continuellement à présent 100% nous ni toutes ces moun qui les contacté vers min Covid là yo ja recouvert. Ça veut dire nous pas une pièce c'est moun qui te testé yo pièce pas ka mouche sin vers min encore. Ça veut dire ça pas veut dire nous pas kay ni vers min encore. Ça pas veut dire ça pièce. Ça nous a dit que ça nous a ten hard office si moi que ça nous attend nous ici à présent c'est nous ni pour changer nous ca combattre vers maintenant toujours et ça qui est bien important c'est d'être ou continuellement fait ça ou supposé faire pas pièce yon bagay mais tout masse là chaîne distance sociale là laver la main et sous malade fait assis ouais docteur mais plus important ou supposé qu'à manger bien ou supposé faire si vous bréglo ou supposé savoir exercice bien l'autre bagage les cadeaux là sous fait ça veut dire ou en santé et ou quand péché vers maintenant si manger quoi nous ka dit ici nous pas supposé moi content ça les dire nous pas supposé comme quoi comme si dit oui c'est un bagage nous pas kay joindre pièce encore pays a ouvert nous a protecté quoi nous ici ça qu'a fait l'autre pays moun kay vini qui ça ou kay fait les moun vini quoi bien important bon matin c'est pour ça nous pour un moment et nous ka dit encore parce que nous t'en à présent nous pas ni personne qui ni vers maintenant ici ça pas veut dire il parle ça pas veut dire pas mettre masque ça pas veut dire pas laver la main toutes ces bagages ça nous ka dit encore nous ni pour continuer faire jusqu'à temps là nan remède jusqu'à temps là ni yon vaccin et pour ces moun nan moi kay dit ça et ça a sorti hot moins pour ces moun nan qui ka dit ve fijay moi ouais moi ni rien man rien il pas enlève fijay yo et sous ça va rien et sous ka coûter ça nous ka dit ou pas ka ouais sou on ve moun là ni moun qui ka chayer et yo pas kay malade pièce yo pas kay même moucher mais ça qui bien danger c'est laisser moun ça mener bay moun qui plus vulnérable c'est grand moun qui javon avec yo ni problème jamais un problème c'est la problème nan c'est ça nous empêcher quoi nous ka quoi ou kay comprendre ça nous ka dire et qu'on la coutume ça c'est ça nous ka fait ici nous ka ouvert cerveau moun nous ka faire moun savent information et raison qui nous ka fait ça nous ka faire nous commencer là bon pied et bon matin nous ka continuer suivre nous veiller nous et pour information qu'on nous ka ba oui merci tellement.
We're going to come back to COVID-19 news in just a moment, but just to rest on the appropriations bill for 2020-2021 that was tabled in the House this week, forwarded by Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, the Honorable Alan Shastney. We got word of 16.8% unemployment being declined in 2019, and also just to go further, 31.6% youth unemployment declined in 2019. The consumer price inflation in 2019, 0.5%, and an increase in public sector infrastructural development by 34.5%. So please take note of these figures. Going into the efforts of the government of Saint Lucia going into this new fiscal year, the Honorable Prime Minister did segment his address into economic recovery and resilience, a plan for economic recovery and resilience that should be released later on this week, hopefully he said in a matter of days. But it speaks to us recovering from COVID-19. We know the effects of the pandemic were very debilitating. The measures that had to be taken had an effect on all our sectors, and so there has been a very deliberate effort on the part of the government to help stimulate the economy as well as continue and enhance social protection systems for those most vulnerable in our society. Beginning with stimulating the economy, I noticed there was an effort to arm and to equip small businesses with as much resources to recover at this time as possible. We go to our first clip from the Honorable Prime Minister for this morning in terms of the measures that have been taken to stimulate our economy.
With respect to measures targeted at stimulating the economy, we will implement the following. 1, provision of US $3.1 million repurposed from the Climate Adaptation Fund to provide blended loan and grant assistance ranging from 5,000 to 25,000 to micro and small enterprises, with a focus on food security and digital economies. This will be provided through the Saint Lucia Development Bank and will benefit between 1,200 and 1,500 enterprises. 2, provision of a low-cost financing to meet working capital requirements of SMEs affected by COVID-19. This, Mr. Speaker, will also be administered by the Saint Lucia Development Bank. An allocation of EC 5 million has been made towards this initiative, which is expected to benefit 350 people. A 50% waiver of commercial property taxes for the period 2019 to 2020 to landlords who extend moratoriums of a minimum of 20% of monthly rental charges for a period of 3 months covering either April to June or July to September 2020. This, Mr. Speaker, is intended to support tenants affected by the slowdown in business activity. But, Mr. Speaker, we have not forgotten those in rented accommodations. We propose offering a tax deduction to landlords of 20% of the monthly rental value for a period of 6 months. In effect, Mr. Speaker, a tenant who pays a monthly rent of $1,000 may now have their rent reduced to $800, and the landlord can claim an amount of $200 per month for that period. A waiver of taxes on interest earnings of financial institutions from loans to micro-enterprises. Mr. Speaker, the intention of this initiative is to encourage our financial institutions to provide needed capital to small and micro-enterprises through approved financial products for a period of 3 years, commencing July 2020. EC $3.5 million has been allocated to this initiative. Provision of $500,000 to Bell Fund to capitalize this institution to respond to the needs of micro-business sector. Mr. Speaker, we recognize in these times a number of skilled persons are out of employment and desirous of starting a business. These resources are meant to provide initial startup capital for such individuals. Increase in the subsidy of bulk flour to bakers from $12 to $17 per bag. Mr. Speaker, our bakers are part of our national food security program, and they have continued to feed the nation throughout this crisis. This provision is meant to stabilize the baking sector and alleviate cash flow challenges. This measure, Mr. Speaker, will remain in effect from the period July to December 2020. Provision of inputs and related items to the agricultural sector to stimulate domestic demand and strengthen food security. A sum of $7.96 million has been allocated to this initiative. Waiver of duties and related charges on importation of personal hygiene supplies for the period of July to December 2020.
Honorable Prime Minister Alan Chasney speaking on efforts to stimulate the economy with a focus on small businesses, small and micro enterprises at this time. Also, efforts to stimulate the economy include fast-tracking shovel-ready capital investment projects. And we know the Urinor International Airport redevelopment project is underway. We have the phase 2 of the St. Jude Hospital, the completion of the respiratory hospital. All of these projects in the construction sector are helping to stimulate the economy at this time. Not to mention also there's a waiver on import duties on building materials for housing development. The Prime Minister encouraged home ownership and stimulating activity, economic activity in the construction sector. So developers of 5 or more houses will qualify for a waiver of import duties on building materials and fixtures for this development. So if you are a developer, you have 5 or more properties that you want to develop, you would qualify for a waiver on import duties. All part of efforts to help stimulate the economy, help us recover, economic recovery, and building resilience to this COVID-19 effect.
Yeah, the aspect on the provision of the sort of combination of the blend of the loan and grants component for the small businesses. I can see this as being well received by our entrepreneurs because you may have that sort of very small, if you want, cottage sort of type industry that you're doing. And so sometimes, you would have been hardest hit as compared to maybe a, well-established business house. And so for these individuals to be able to have that sort of financial assistance, it really, really, I think, is going to inject some life. And small businesses, you employ 2 or 3 people.
Yes.
But the reach of that sort of economic spin-off, because you have a company of 20 small businesses and they're employing, on average 5 people. That goes a very, very long way. And so to have these small enterprises survive in this time will definitely be able to keep the sort of buoyancy in the economy. So I'm hoping that as many those small businesses who can qualify for this grant and loan, that they'll be able to take advantage of it. And
it's good to see the move from the talk to action. I mean, during the lockdown and everything, we heard a lot of talk about small businesses coming to the fore, persons creating new avenues and not just, bowing their head and giving up. Persons who have lost their job looking for other aspects. And a number of SMEs have come to the fore during this pandemic. But how do they survive beyond this? So with these grants and loans, and even looking at some of the focus areas, food security and digital technologies, these are some of the things we're really seeing the importance of now more than ever. Not that they were not important before. But again, we've been talking about these areas, food security, buy local and what have you. But, to have that sort of backing now with grants and small loans and that sort of thing, it's really good to see that happening. And in the coming days and weeks, we're going to see how this will be rolled out and how persons will actually access that. And of course, we will have that information available right here on NTN.
And again, I want to take us back to our interview here with, from the economic department?
Tommy Descartes.
Tommy Descartes. And he did make reference to the fact that under our resilience program, he did mention in the fine print, it gives government that opportunity. They realizing our vulnerability. It gives them that opportunity to, again, and I quote, repurpose from the Climate Adaptation Fund. Remember, those monies were never intended for our situation right now, which is COVID.
A part of the medium-term development strategy.
Yeah, those monies were allocated and they took it from the Climate Adaptation Fund. Yes. But there was the fine print, right? And again, when we speak here and this is the intention to disseminate the information that noticing how vulnerable we are, again, we could use monies that were not necessarily taken for the purpose of COVID, but we found ourselves, it could have very well meant a hurricane or a disaster or even a drought beyond what we've seen, and those monies could be repurposed. So it's always good to see at least. Encore, ça nous a dit à l'évini pour qui manière Premier ministre l'a dit, stimuler l'économie, nous a parlé sur l'argent, il a alloqué la provision pour l'argent américain, 3,1 millions de dollars, l'argent américain, comme on dit, pour petit business qui a levé moun qui besoin assistance ça, et puis il y a un loan et grant, il a sorti, il a commencé 5 000 dollars pour 25 000 dollars. L'année plusieurs nous touchons en laisse ça, parmi bagay pour moun qui a loué, moun qui tout fait qu'on y affecté, pas ça payer loué à yo. Exemple en fait, si vous avez payé 1 000 dollars, qu'à présent, ou ça paye 800 dollars, nous avons côté moun ça à présent 200 dollars pour mettre propriétaire, mettre Kaila, il s'acclame ça en les taxes lièques, il même aussi ça a un petit soulagement. Mais yon moins content aussi, c'est les vini pour provision 10 millions de dollars, qui c'est 500 000 dollars, yo bay bel fund. Avec bel fund, ou kay savent, là pour petit business qui a levé tête, petit business qui a commencé, yon a ces bagailles là, yo besoin en chailan, c'est l'argent pour commencer, yo besoin direction, avec nous parmi action, parmi provision qui a fait en bas adresse Premier ministre, en bas secteur pour stimuler l'économie, nous avons 500 $500,000 yo mette pour bel fund. Encore nous toucher à sous limo 6 qui c'est assisté gouvernement qui a mis $5 là il vini pour monde qui a acheté farine en lisine là quand avant était $12 à présent $17 quand toutes ces bagailles ça encore nous ka dit nous ka mentionner pour faire monde comprendre ça hier dedans qui provision qui fait et qui manière il kay opérer quand nous ka ouais ça à présent yon sac farine gouvernement qui a mis $12 à sous prix à présent gouvernement qui a $17 qui veut dire 5 quand ça ka mouché ou kay payer moins expressement c'est mon qui a servi farine en yon manière et ben l'autre mais tout en parmi provision qui fait pour stimuler l'économie.
But let me just add here, the whole subsidy of the flours is not just simply about the bakers, the reduction to the bakers, but it also reduces on the input. So you now at the other end of the spectrum going to buy those things, the potential of, the possibility of bread, the price of bread being increased at this time. You know, you're minimizing that, or it's going to be zero at this time. You know, because now the baker, the input, the main input, which is flour, is now being subsidized. You know, so that redounds to the benefit of the average person, especially somebody like myself who cannot do it without any bread in the household. That's very, very important. So keeping the price of bread, you know, a sandwich at the end of the day.
And we could go
yes, so that's further. Very, very important to the average Joe like myself.
And we could go even further, Tony, as we come to an end to this discussion, in terms of anytime we say flour and we say bread, but look at it holistically, the supermarkets, the shops, you go to, what are the common commodities you'll find in your average corner store? You'll get the flour, the sugar, the oil. You understand? So it's not necessarily only for bakers per se. But you get that, okay, the flour is right next door in your average, in the community, in those stores, persons buying a pound, 2 pound for the food. And just like you like your bread, I like my bakes. You understand?
And
especially when I am the one who's making it. So at the end of the day, and of course, it goes hand in hand with other provisions that are made. Let it not be known that it's not just the specific flour or on flour. Together with, everything else the provision is made for.
Yes.
Moving on to the strengthening of the social protection system here in Saint Lucia, focus was placed on protecting our poor and vulnerable here on island in wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. And not only those who have been poor and vulnerable prior to COVID-19, but those who have been plunged on the breadline due to the effects of COVID-19. We go to a clip from the Honorable Prime Minister speaking on the measures that have been taken for their protection.
To strengthen the social protection system. One, a reduction in the electricity fuel surcharge, Mr. Speaker. The fuel surcharge of $1 will be reduced by 50 cents for a 6-month period. This is expected to generate savings which will be used to reduce the electricity bills of qualifying households between $50 and $100 per month. Expansion of the public assistance cash transfer program from 2,600 households to 3,600 households. Increase in the child disability grant from $200 to $300. Increase in the grant for persons living with HIV from $100 to $200. Increase in the grant for children to foster care from $200 to $300. Provision of a COVID-19 hygiene care package for the poor and vulnerable. Microfinance loans to households to diversify into small enterprise and cottage industries. Small infrastructure projects within the rural communities. Mr. Speaker, further details on the administrative arrangements for these measures will be communicated very shortly.
Measures there outlined by the Honorable Prime Minister to strengthen the social protection system here in Saint Lucia at this time as we try to recover from the effects of COVID-19. At the top of it is reduction in electricity fuel surcharge. The Prime Minister did indicate that the fuel surcharge of $1 will be reduced by 50 cents for a 6-month period. And this is expected to generate savings, which will be used to reduce electricity bills of qualifying households by between $50 and $100 per month. So please take into consideration the fact that utilities, there's even a consultation in the area of utilities to reduce that and lessen the load on those who are poor, vulnerable, those still reeling from the effects of COVID-19. Any other weigh-ins?
Yeah, I would think that's going to make a significant dent, and I would, while we await what the finer details of this assistance package would be, but I'm sure that for persons who aren't working right now, they're not earning that salary, having to foot monthly bills must be something that is so strenuous. And then you're trying to balance having to provide food on the table as well. And I see here that we will be having the waiver of duties on personal hygiene products, correct?
Yes,
so that within itself is another way of easing that financial burden. You don't have to worry about making sure that you have that little soap for bathing your cooks is nothing, but it's true. You need the toothpaste, and when you see these things, when you see these things running out and at home, and you have to, you want to keep your life as normal as possible. You don't want to have to worry about moving around or waking up and then every aspect of your cupboards bare. No, and so. With all of those, as we were saying earlier, hopefully with all of these assistance packages, that some dent can be made, and that for people now to begin to feel that they're not drowning.
Yes, and even looking at some of the other persons, increasing the child disability grant from $200 to $300, the grant to persons living with HIV from $100 to $200, increase in the grant for children in foster care from $200 to $300. These are among our vulnerable persons. Most time we just look at vulnerable to mean poor and not being able to. But imagine being unemployed and you have, a child in your foster care or a child with a disability. So that will go a long way in assisting such persons to carry on their duties, to make their life a little more comfortable. We're not saying that, overnight everything is going to be rosy all over again, but at least the approach is there to get you to that point where you begin to see some normalcy return to your life.
Also, the microfinance loans to households to diversify into micro small enterprise. You have persons who are now no longer working in the traditional, office and whatnot, but they have skills.
They have a skill.
And they could, help, contribute to the cottage industries and really, take up whatever they learned when they were younger from their grandmother. Perhaps you were making tamarind balls. You could make a small business from that,
So added to that, I'm saying strengthening social protection systems. So while we are looking at and dissecting the budget, a range of sectors and provisions are made. And then one would question now, okay, previously we were now talking about an amount allocated to small businesses and micro businesses. We were now speaking of, direct investment, and then it comes to the social protection. Again, it just speaks to the range and what you have to deal with. I mean, it's not just a matter of infrastructure, but what do you put in place for your social programs? I mean, persons, and rightly so, Tony, you touch on persons living with HIV. Do some of us even think about that while we're saying, boy, things hard and whatnot? Do we even think of those children in foster care? All of those sometimes fall through the crack. You understand? And then we see a provision is being made to kind of cushion. And again, it's very important, I think we should make that point. Those are not to eliminate, for lack of a better term, the current situation, but more or less a support, a cushioning. Et puis, c'est ça nous avons dit. Nous avons dit, pas de temps, nous avons vu budget, qui ça qui en dit, nous avons venu pour courant, l'argent qui a allé venu pour qualité, ça, nous avons mis les billes, nous avons trouvé qu'on baissé par 50 cents. Pour l'autre 6 mois, ça c'est ce charge là. Et c'est l'argent yo ka mette à sous bill nous, bill courant, ça supposé qu'il affecte en yon manière ban l'autre et puis qu'a dit là entre $50 pour un 100 par mois, bénéfice là il vini pour ça. Nous parler pour maman qui là pour adoption, avec ces facilités qui là pour assister yo, c'est moun ça ka hen un haussement dedans l'argent ça $100, moun qui ni sida, nous ka sorti assistance là pour moun qui ka vive puis sida ka sorti $100 pour $200, maman qui infime qui ka hen assistance nous ka sorti $200 pour $300 et puis congestion mais en chay moun pèt travail avec yo kayo avec un talent, une ambition ou voulez commencer un petit bagay kayo qu'on yo ka dit anglais micro business, c'est un petit business qui ka par exemple qui j'en côté ka louer et ben c'est un petit business qui a commencé en kay là ou ka fait petit lage l'eau ou ka fait petit tablette ou ka fait un bagay petit panier petit bagay pour vendre parce qu'à présent ou voulez l'année provision qui fait pour assister ces moun ça quand encore sou ka venir ka katile ça ka là nous tenir budget budget qu'on nous garde en anglais nous tenir budget like nous ka en printemps à présent pour combien dedans nous ça expliquer et pour vous ça comprendre ça qui a fait les venir pour plan pour nous expressement ça qui est bien important dans temps qu'on Covid.
Thanks for that. We continue with this morning's programming, and that is looking back at the week that was. Of course, at the leading development being the presentation of the appropriations bill, the budget address delivered by the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, the Honorable Alan Shastney, continuing with an announcement that he made in terms of 100% duty-free concessions on the importation of motor vehicles. We got word that this concession would be offered to essential service staff, taxi operators and minibus operators. Essential service staff are being recognized in this particular instance for their hard work at the height of the early COVID-19 mitigation efforts. We go to this next clip.
These workers faced immense challenges in carrying out their duties, and it was painful to note that essential service staff, nurses, police officers, firemen and firewomen were profiled when taking public transportation, and in many instances were turned away from buses in their uniforms. To that end, our government has taken the decision to provide duty-free concessions on vehicles for a stipulated period of time to essential service staff who've been employed for more than 5 years within the public service. In addition, the government will be offering 100% duty-free concessions on vehicles for taxi operators over the next 2 years. Our government is also mindful that bus drivers have been struggling amidst the pandemic, and the 100% duty waiver will also be extended to our island's bus drivers.
That was the Honorable Prime Minister speaking, making the announcement earlier this week, Tuesday, of the duty-free concessions on imported motor vehicles for essential service staff, as well as taxi operators and minibus operators. We've had the taxi operators, minibus operators, their representatives coming through the corridors of the GIS, speaking and making their case for, the very challenging times that they will face with, especially on the onset of the COVID-19 response, the lockdown, when there was the borders, the closing of the borders, that really crippled some of the routes. And so hopefully the bus drivers, the taxi drivers can see how they can take advantage of this and benefit them overall.
Lisa?
But sorry, my head has been down because I've been following our platform.
The comments, Lisa.
On the platform, I'm always trying to stay in the know.
For some of the comments.
Yes, and I see here that one of our added followers there, Quincy. Thank you so much. We do appreciate that you tune in every time and that you contribute to the discussion. So thank you so much for that and the interest that you have in your homeland. There's a question coming in for Quincy referring to the opening of the borders, a protocol for coming into the country. We know that initially that what the position of the government of Saint Lucia on the advice of the chief medical officer had been for us to have that sort of COVID certificate that every country is talking about right now when it comes to the travel tourism industry. So we were looking at the 48-hour test. So you had to have that test done before coming in. There has been some discussion between the task force, which has been set up to overlook the protocols for the travel tourism sector, along with the SLHTA, some other stakeholders, and the discussions are continuing. There seems to have been some consensus on a decision that has not necessarily been made public at this time. However, that decision will be communicated very, very, very soon. We're looking at perhaps sometime next week, not too far into next week, that there will be some conclusive decision, and that is going to be communicated to us. So we will be able to provide all of that information. Just as you do, Quincy, just continue to stay tuned, and we'll be happy to provide you with that information when it has become available to us. Yeah.
Another outstanding aspect of the bill, when I look at the allocation for education, we see the program for education realignment and transformation. The Honorable Prime Minister speaking about the infrastructural works that will be implemented. Of course, again, reliance on the construction sector to spur economic activity, help us recover from this COVID-19 situation. The program for education realignment and transformation seeks to build on the foundation set by the EQUIP project. Under this project, it's estimated to cost a total US $15 million. If you could just take a listen to some of the infrastructural works that will be taking place in this upcoming fiscal year within the education sector.
Construction of a new secondary school to replace the Miku Secondary School. Construction of a new special education needs facility to replace the Nanata School. Major expansion and restoration works at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. 4, construction of a new special education needs facility to replace the Vieux Fort Special Education Center. 5, expansion and rehabilitation works at the SEN facilities. And 6, expansion and rehabilitation works at the Early Childhood Development Centers. 7, upgrade and expansion of TVET laboratories at 9 secondary schools. 8, upgrade and expansion of 2 secondary schools, the Entrepot Secondary School and the Soufrière Comprehensive Secondary School.
That was an update there. The Honorable Prime Minister speaking on the allocation for the education sector in terms of infrastructural works that will be implemented in the upcoming fiscal year. We are due for another break this morning. Do stay tuned. We have so many more developments coming from this past week that we want to share with you in case you missed out. So stay tuned. We're done with the Appropriations Bill 2020-2021. Of course, going over it in its entirety and the budget debate that ensued after would take us days, as with the case of Parliament itself. But we encourage you to go back to the parliamentary sittings for this past week. Take a listen to some of the contributions from the various ministers on what their plans are for the government, and the people of Saint Lucia going into this new fiscal year. Again, due for a break. When we come back, we take a look at the update on St. Jude's Hospital, as well as St. Lucia ratifying the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons Living with Disabilities.
She's been watching, waiting, wondering when the sands of time will give way to a tide of change, and for yesterday and today to become a new tomorrow, for a time when her sun can kiss the cheeks of your loved one and her stars can twinkle in her honeymoon skies. when her earthly embrace will reassure and calm your soul. And her unique view can change your whole perspective. Proudly, she has risen to meet new challenges and to provide safe harbor to all who reach her shores. For her hopes and dreams still stand shoulder to shoulder, a precious reminder of experiences yet to come. So, wherever your moments and memories take you, let her sense of adventure set you free. She is Saint Lucia. Let her inspire you.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're still in time for some important updates coming from the government of St. Lucia this past week. We have at this point word this week. We got word this week that St. Lucia ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons Living with Disabilities. And if I could just reference briefly the appropriations bill, the delivery, the address of the Honorable Prime Minister, some of what is being done for persons living with disabilities. We spoke earlier on the increase for children living with disabilities, the allocation for children living with disabilities, as well as in the education sector. We have an allocation for the erection of ramps and other infrastructure to assist with access to educational institutions on island. And we got word from the Honorable Prime Minister that an assessment is currently being done to determine what are the needs, the extent of persons living with disability, as well as what are the needs of persons living with disabilities in St. Lucia, to better accommodate them and to have a unique drafting to accommodate these persons living with disabilities here in St. Lucia. So coming off of us ratifying the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons Living with Disabilities, efforts continue to improve the conditions of persons living with disabilities here in St. Lucia. I now move on to anybody?
No, I was just saying that with these, our persons with disabilities, I remember a few years ago I did a story, and surprisingly that there wasn't a national policy.
Yes.
Yes, and I know a lot of work had been done with the government of Japan giving assistance, because, you know, the government of Japan, over the years, they've provided tremendous assistance, whether it be through physical therapists, or you've been able to have certain specialists come down and provide training of teachers and so forth. So I think that we are beginning to see ourselves on a better footing when it comes to catering to that segment of our society. And it would surprise you, because I remember we were having to do that expose going off into the rural communities, and even within Castries itself, you would be surprised to see the number of St. Lucians who are in one form or another disabled. And for those who are more impaired than others, you'd find that they are living it's not a sheltered life, they're really just relegated into a corner. And it's very, very sad to see that some families are overburdened. They don't have the sort of capabilities in dealing with persons with disabilities. And so in some cases, you may simply have a disabled person living in their own world, and you hardly find other members of the family interacting with that individual, not because they do not love the individual, but they may not have the understanding of how to be able to communicate. And so I do hope that as we begin to have more of a discussion in our society, we will be able to reach out to other people. And those who need the help, that they too can reach out. Because it's not easy. I have a sister who is disabled, and I can tell you that it is not an easy road, because you saddle with medical bills, you are saddled with that emotional trauma of having now to deal with a member who perhaps not able to do for themselves. And so you now have to balance your life and being able to take care of that person. It is really, really difficult. So this increase in the allowance is a good thing. And don't think for a moment that it doesn't go a long way, especially when you have these persons with disabilities or children with disability, they're at school. So you need that extra assistance. What I do think that a conversation needs to be had on is the sort of qualifying process for the assistance. Several parents that I've spoken to, you find it very difficult for you to now, every year that when you have to sort of renew this assistance plan, that you now have to find that doctor's certificate. In some cases, you may be told that you need to return that child to a doctor for some examination. And so it can be a bit tough. I had one person say to me, well, if someone is blind, chances are next year they're still blind.
They'll still be blind.
Right? So sometimes, perhaps we can begin to have that sort of conversation on how how we continue to provide assistance.
But further to that, one of the projects that even prior to COVID that the government had embarked on and is ongoing right now is the smart health centers in the various communities. Could you imagine that a disabled person prior to this going to the health center and there's no ramp for them to access that very health center that they go in for, even the washroom facilities, so if those smart healthcare facilities across the island in various communities, this again will go a long way in assisting those persons with disabilities, make their lives a little more comfortable in accessing, those. And we're hoping that it continues even in terms of public spaces. How do you properly access? You go into a shop, you go into the government building, what have you, that there's enough space that you get into the elevator, what have you. So starting with the smart healthcare facilities, it's one small step in making their life a little easier.
Quand sou ka chile ça ka fait là conversation là ni pour faire puis budget là ni pour faire annoncement nous te fait plus bonnet en semaine côté en bas là vini pour UN et ko ka ça Saint Lucia tout fait quoi représenter là et changer nous signer agreement ça là vini pour monde qui infime monde qui vulnérable parmi nous et en chaidi nous ka observer là vini pour une situation qu'on c'était yon dans temps nous pas ka remettre parler dit c'est comme si dit oui pas même nécessaire pour nous ni c'est moun ça après ou qu'on famille peut-être trouver quoi en situation côté on a moun qui vulnérable moun qui infime assistance là et puis c'est pour ça chaque de bon pour nous indiquer quoi nous pour nous savoir ça qui aller parce que peuple en nation moun qu'on en provision ni pour fête yo ni pour meilleure provision place bay moun qu'on en chaque nous kay bien d'accord regardez à présent sous marché Castries ou kay observer chaque ces place là ni côté pour moun passer puis wheelchair en chaque business à présent ni côté pour ça pousser un moun et prend wheelchair et ou kay bien savent dans temps qu'on avant la pas ni pièce manio te kay vini côté te kay passer pour wheelchair qui veut dire nous pas te aimer prendre ça en considération à présent nous ka ouais parole là ka parler nous ka dit mi encore c'est pour ça nous ka demander moun coûter budget tant qui provision qui fait si fait science si pas fait science mais tant sa provision yé en parmi ba il vini pour ça ou kay savant ba il vini pour programme pour éducation et transformation là nous attend à peu près 15 millions dollars US en allocation faite pour ça et quoi il aller parler d'infime avec monde qui infime là nous attend yo vle tirer l'école donateur koyé au monde là la penté et puis yo vle mettre dans location neuf raison pour qui ça là ça veut dire bayon côté qui primaire et prouver koyé parce que yo en parmi nous et puis la supposé ni facilité bayo nous encore là vini pour ça à pas de ça yo fait provision là vini pour c'est l'école là Ou ka observer même ça moi parler dit maman qui infirme qui en wheelchair qui passe à bail est-ce la ni manière pour yo entrer l'école là est-ce toutes ces marches là est-ce côté yo même bagay et tout ça qu'a parler parce que nous ka ouais provision faite pour yo bâti côté pour ces monde ça parti et si c'est pas seulement côté mais mettez bagay en place bail ces monde quoi parole là même qu'a parler discussion là les vini pour monde qui vulnérable monde qui infirme parmi nous. Avant ça aussi nous parler de les venir pour concession yo kay bay ces gens minibus là nous tenu yo ici nous tande ça qui était aller et puis yo dit yo te ka parler puis gouvernement il semble yo ja vini en conclusion yo manière en l'autre quoi nous attend ni ces gens minibus là ni ces gens taxi ces gens taxi yo ka une concession si yo mener machine en toué à pas de ça nous si c'est travail essentiel là c'est moun ça et condition qui veut dire on est pour là 5 l'année en plus pour ou peut qualifier mais nous ka yo c'est moun ça ka une concession aussi pour si yo besoin gain yon machine pour ko yo en loto et yon ces bagay là ou ka savent les vini pour ça en temps Covid il pas un bon bagay et puis nous tande et puis c'est yon moi quoi qui fait chaidi nous la peine pour tande la tenir chauffeur qui pas te vle c'est moun ça bâti machine yo quoi encore l'au panier information imaginez où qu'a fait wolo quand yon travail essentiel avec les bois caillou après ou hata hakanti weda pour hami ko en danger ou parti ça bâti mais mon quoi nous mettez attention dans les ça qui bon ça qui sont tendance c'est moun ça qui paye ka hen chance là pour hen en concession là sur yon machine en parmi l'autre bagaille nous a discuter bon matin les ça qui fait en semaine.
Thanks for that, Carlton. And just important to note that the provisions of the Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities, the UN Convention, is consistent with Saint Lucia's own constitution, Chapter 1, Protection of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. The government of Saint Lucia, we're getting word from the External Affairs and the Public Service, Department of External Affairs, that the government of Saint Lucia will be engaging all relevant stakeholders regarding national implementation of this convention. Moving on with updates that we got in the past week, we saw that 70% completion of the St. Jude's Hospital. If we could just go to the video giving us some information on where the hospital's construction is at this point. Take a look.
So we're at the entrance of the building. That will be the main access point to the hospital from the St. Jude's Road. That's where visitors and patients will be entering the hospital. And at the entrance, once it is complete, once you enter the hospital, there'll be a very large lobby area with very high ceilings, and also reception. And servicing this reception area, we have a ramp and 2 steps that will take you from the entrance of the building to the first floor as well as the roof. This new hospital we're building, we have actually 3 buildings. We have a very large main building, and then we have 2 auxiliary buildings. The 2 auxiliary buildings, Block A and Block B, that will house dialysis and physiotherapy. The main building, which is Block C, D, E, F, and G, that's where the main hospital function will be carried out. This is a very modern hospital, and the designers went in lengths to actually make sure that we have all facilities that are available to a modern hospital. We even have a helipad on the roof, where in a case of emergency, in case any patients have to be transported by that means by air or by helicopter, it can land on the roof and that patient can be transported. We started in October, at the end of October, and right now we're probably about 80% complete. So the project, we divided the project into several phases. We have the structural phase, we have the cladding phase, we have the MEP phase. Right now we're at the structural phase, which involves just the skeleton of the building, which is columns, beams, slabs, and any other concrete structures.
In all, we have 6 components in those structures, and we subdivided the works into groups of, we have 10 subcontractors executing those works, such that we could move as quickly as possible.
I started here from the beginning. The first bar of concrete I put here, I put it. Yeah, I put that, right? And then from the time I started, I never had a problem with no worry. I moved from the building to formwork. From the formwork, Mr. Peter called me and told me he had something better for me. I asked him, what is it? And he gave me the diacetyl building. And I started the diacetyl building up to where it is right now.
Well, under the project, those contractors had their own crew. We have a steel contractor who had about 120 workers employed. Then each of the contractors may have about 15 to 20 workers employed with them. On average, we have about maybe 200 workers employed.
The original completion date for the project was, for that phase of the project, which is the structural phase, the original completion date was set at in end of May.
Since we broke the work down into several components, the work has moved quite quickly. We were ahead of schedule initially, but the COVID set us back a little bit.
We're looking at a new projected completion date of sometime in mid-July. That's for the structural phase, which is the actual skeleton of the building. Okay, once the structural phase is complete, we'll move to the second phase of the project, which is the cladding phase. And then there's another phase, which is the MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing phase. And once MEP and cladding is complete, then there comes finishing and civil works phase of the project, which is roads and the final completion of the project.
That was the update on the St. Jude's Hospital coming through this past week, 70% complete. The Prime Minister also mentioned it in his budget address, assuring that the St. Jude Hospital construction project would be complete in this fiscal year. So looking forward to its completion. Certainly the persons in the south have waited long enough for this enhancement to healthcare delivery in the south of the island.
Yeah, and I think Saint Lucia as a whole has waited long enough to have just functioning healthcare facilities. And certainly from the work that we see in there, we can be heartened that, alas, the St. Jude Hospital will come into being and better, much better than what it was before that tragic fire. And as well as just being able now to elevate our standard of care delivery. So by that, we know that St. Jude has always been known for being able to provide certain services, medical services that you may not have found perhaps at Victoria Hospital. Now with OKEU. So now at OKEU we've had an expansion of what those services that you would not have gotten at Victoria Hospital. And even those that you were getting there, it has now moved into sort of that ultra-modern care delivery. So we're hoping to be able to have St. Jude at that same level with the OKEU hospital, and that Saint Lucia can begin to fully tout, that when it comes to healthcare delivery, that we are indeed a cut above the rest.
I'm happy that you mentioned Saint Lucia, Lisa, because over the period of time, the conversation has been about a hospital for the South.
Yeah.
Whilst I'm not discounting that, the South is indeed in need of a proper healthcare facility, but you never know where you're going to be and when tragedy is going to strike. So it's a facility that's going to benefit all St. Lucians. You know, it's not just about the South, but it's a healthcare facility that we should all be proud of, because you never know when you'll be in need of that facility, you, your family, your loved one. After all, we're one St. Lucia, and I keep saying that, for 238 square miles, oftentimes you think that we're living in a country where we have 60 or 72 large states. It's only 238 square miles. You know, the South is an hour away. In case of Cokes, who drive very fast, it might be about 45 minutes. But still, you know, you want to be comfortable to know that if you're in Dennery or Soufriere or Choiseul, that at any point where you are, that you could access a proper healthcare facility in St. Lucia.
My 2 cents, as it relates, I am very happy at least to see the forward thinking in terms of air ambulance, helipad.
Yeah.
I think too often we have seen a lot of our facilities and infrastructure being limited to the now for now and not with a vision for the future. I mean, if we those of us who have experienced the international scene and even watching it on, you know, media, you would observe or notice in cases where you need to transport that person, especially over a distance. Now, we are saying maybe St. Lucia. How about neighboring St. Vincent or Martinique? You understand? It shows. So, I mean, it's very good to see at least now we are thinking for the future, not only now for now. Needless to say, when it comes to our health, I believe that's one I'm very passionate about, and I think the health of a nation is very important, and if anything, should be a priority. But it's good, again, as we comment and seeing at least steps been taken, and we could see, and not only thinking for now, but for the then, as it refers to the helipad.
And once we have these sort of facilities in place, then to also now look at the human resource aspect, and now we can have our nurses will begin to specialize in areas, so we can have more specialists on island. And because we may have those facilities there, but unfortunately we may not be having the sort of specially trained practitioners to take care of some of these diseases and conditions that are now beginning to spring up among our population. So it's important for us to have the building, for us to have equipment. We need to also have the human resource capacity to be able to complement all of that. And once we've bridged those gaps, then we know that we do have that sort of ultra-modern healthcare delivery in St. Lucia.
Absolutely. Continuing with this morning, we have the countdown to Common Entrance. Common Entrance is scheduled for Monday, the 29th of June. We now hear from Dr. Fiona Phillip-Meyer, the Chief Education Officer, speaking on and giving advice to teachers, school administrators, as well as parents as we lead up to this important day for our students.
We are privileged to be able to offer our Common Entrance examination on June 29th, and we, along with the other regional partners, are having our CXC examinations commencing July 13th. We have been also allowed an extension in terms of SBA submissions, so the deadline is the 30th of June, and so we're very glad that our teachers have been able to support students in terms of completion of SBAs, because that forms a significant part of their grades this academic year. And so it is still an opportunity for parents to support their children in the event there are any outstanding work to be completed and submitted before the deadline of June 30th.
Getting ready for major exams, of course, there's some level of apprehension, both on the part of students and parents. Any words of reassurance, any tips?
Well, as a parent myself, I've got 2 daughters. They're 22 and 24 now. I know that there is a level of anxiety, as would have been around this time of the year. We should have had common entrance on June 10th. This year, it is happening on June 29th. We want to reassure our parents that everything is in place in terms of health and safety protocols, so they need not worry about that. And the fact that our schools have come off in terms of bringing back the students into the physical environment is testimony to that. Again, hats off to our schools, our administrators, our teachers. But more so to the point of the students, particularly our younger ones going into common entrance. We want to say to our parents, remain calm with them. Affirm them, reassure them, speak to their ability, speak to their skill. We do not want common entrance to be a threat to them, but more an opportunity for them to really show their potential. And as we continue to say, find time as a family to do a relaxing activity prior to common entrance. If you're a spiritual family, you want to pray with your child, you want to give them little tips to go into the examination, being reassured that this is one opportunity. There will be other opportunities for them to excel, but we want to let our parents know that we want the engagement to be positive, really positive for our young ones going into common entrance. And that is the main message. We know they've done their work. We know that they've had support from their teachers, from their parents, but we want them as they go into the examination rooms to feel calm, to do little breathing exercises, to again affirm them before they leave the house for that day. And we are there to...
We know school reopened, physical classes resumed for the grade 6 students as well as the Form 5s in preparation for the CXC as well. But just to prepare for this upcoming examination, and when I speak for all, when I say we wish you all the best of luck, all of the grade 6 students are going to sit the examinations this coming Monday. We continue with advisories that we received from health officials and as well as the Met Office on the Saharan dust that came over us this past week. And I believe, Tony, we're expecting another wave of the plume?
Yes, due to the tropical wave that we experienced a couple of days ago, from what I understood from the Met Office, there was a decrease in the amount of the Saharan dust as the rainwater, the rain particles falling down, some of the dust will be trapped in it, so it will reduce. But from my understanding, there is to be a second wave, and persons, obviously, if you're experiencing respiratory problems, you're asked to be extra cautious at this time because of this dust that we've experienced. And I've seen a lot of folks commenting, and it said that it's nothing new. It's only that this year the plume is a lot larger than what has been experienced before. And that has been attributed to the fact that there's less coverage in terms of shrubbery and forestry, the breaking down of the forest over the years. And so this year, the plume is a lot larger than in previous years, from my understanding. But interestingly enough, the positive side of this, folks have been complaining about the dust in the house, their vehicles and what have you. Again, from the NOAA, that's the National Ocean, NOAA, it is said that the Saharan dust reduces the likelihood or the chances of any storms or thunderstorms developing while they're over. So
that's part of Mother Nature's
Mother
balance.
Nature, yeah.
So Mother Nature balances.
She's doing a spring cleaning.
Right. So while a lot of the man-made things are creating some havoc for the environment, Mother Nature is still finding a way to be merciful. Yeah. So we need to...
And it's also said to be beneficial to plant life across the tropics.
The minerals.
Yes, of course. So that's the way.
We just have to bear with it for now and, take the necessary precaution. I know some persons have been complaining of experiencing itchy skin because of the dust and what have you.
I experienced that, but but protective measures. So make sure that you're going out. If you're experiencing that, you try to wear the long sleeves as much as possible. Or what I do, I walk with a sort of cooling agent. So I have spritz. Whether it be little spritz, or you can. I use the sort of the towels.
Cool.
Right. Yes. So just wipe off, and so just make sure after I come in that I don't
and
have
for me,
to
anything
have that.
that's RO-based helps. Yeah.
Nice and smooth. And but I do want to say though, please don't wash the vehicles. Pointless. Don't do it. It makes, we're already in a water emergency. So I know a few people who, when they come out, they see the vehicle, they are gasped. What? My vehicle? They go, they wash it. You will have to do it over.
And over.
And over. And over.
Again.
Just forget about it. We know it is Sahara dust. We know that you love your vehicle and it's clean. You try to, we know that. It's just the dust. So let's allow the Saharan dust to, sweep across. And once that's done, you can go off and clean the vehicle. Yes, but save, because I need to get water at home. So if you are using more water than you should be, that means, my pipe will be dry longer. So let's just try to think of our neighbors, shall we?
Absolutely. And just to, if they don't take our word for it, we just have a statement coming from the Ministry of Health on how to protect yourself if you're prone to respiratory illness, any skin issues with the passage of the Saharan dust, how you can protect yourself at this time. We go to the statement from the Ministry of Health.
Over the past few days, some of us are experiencing the unusual accumulation of dust on our vehicles or on other outdoor objects. The Saint Lucia Meteorological Services informed the Ministry of Health and Wellness of the passage of the Saharan dust over Saint Lucia, and this explains the increasing dust observed in our environment. Saharan dust could pose some health problems for persons with significant illnesses. Persons with dust allergies can experience worsening of their symptoms with itching of the eyes, nose, and throat, while persons with respiratory illnesses like asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, can have increasing frequency and severity of cough, chest tightness, and difficulty breathing. These symptoms may be severe enough to increase the number of visits to healthcare facilities. Persons undiagnosed with respiratory illnesses like asthma may develop symptoms. We should take protective measures like avoiding unnecessary and strenuous outdoor activities over the next few days. Always have a supply of your allergy and asthma medication at hand, and if your symptoms are worsening, do see your doctor or go to the nearest respiratory clinic established across the island. In the context of COVID-19, the ministry encourages the public to continue practicing the protocols of cough etiquette, wearing of masks, hand hygiene, and physical distancing as we try to limit or prevent the spread of COVID-19. The Ministry of Health and Wellness encourages all to stay safe at this time.
That was a statement there coming from the Ministry of Health on how we can protect ourselves with the passage of the Saharan dust. And I believe, as Tony mentioned, we should expect a second wave of that. Tony, Cooks, you have any way in on the Saharan dust passing? I don't want to cheat you.
No. Jesse, I just wanted, it's something I just wanted to touch on it briefly. Quand il pour faire puis la poussière parmi développement, chaque nous kay comme si de doa c'est comme si de la pluie qui kay tomber, mais c'est pas ça. Nous kay savent là dans la poussière. Tous les l'année bon laisse ça, tant ça, nous kay la poussière ça a passé, mais pour yon raison ben l'autre, nous kay attendre les venir pour département qui est responsable pour tant cette liste meteorological là qu'a dit nous expecté pour une pluie épais et puis nous ka wè en chaïdi nous en les machines en les hadou espècement oui peut-être ni had blanc dehors et ben bagay dehors ou ka yon chaï c'est la poussière ça sous pas ça ka sorti juste passage dans la station lance Afrique et puis tous les l'année pour yon l'année ben l'autre il plie puis ça qui bien important qu'avertissement nous ka hen c'est ou ni pour faire assis au prend attention pour avertissement pour pas y dehors travail whole journée expressement sous avant nous avec une pièce maladie les venir pour respirer il ka dou ou ni pour prendre attention pour ça ou ni pour faire si ou malade ou étant dedans ou empêcher qu'on aller dehors ka marcher sous pani pour marcher l'autre bagay là nous un avertissement nous tant hot morceau qui joue c'est si ou ni oui mettre ka point faire assis au point oui mettre faire assis ou tien corps en santé parce que ici on nous kay observer qui kay fait yeux néon gorge goité en compagnie monika affecté yeux moi même gagné sinus moi a pile de l'élément était dehors trop et ben moi marcher dedans il a fait moi estiener il a fait moi tousser et puis a de l'élément qu'on oublier ça quoi nous on cadeau ça ou ka wear et nous parlons petit akasou yon a ces bagay là qui aussi ou ka savent qui bon si maintenant moi just ka discuter ça ou savent la terre avec environnement ka faire affaire yo dit nous yon a ces bagay là c'est ka mener fumier ba c'est terre nous ni on nous juste dans information ka sorti là le département qui responsable pour temps l'Amérique yo ka dit là vini pour ces mauvais temps qui a fait hurricane la poussière ça c'est yon a ces bagay là qui a venu entre temps là vini pour gros choix qui a levé hors de la mer pour former ce hurricane il a affecté ça aussi quoi on ka ouais en balance là vini pour ça qu'a fait là mais quand nous un petit la pluie qui tombe nous attendons encore nous ka ouais un deuxième situation côté la poussière ça qui continue à affecter nous aujourd'hui vous qui levez cavé dehors ou qui observer la poussière bien épais quoi on paye attention là venir pour ça et dernier pas moi je voulais toucher ça aussi pour vous qui ni maman qui a fait common entrance nous ici a dit bonne chance pour tout le monde nous savons c'est maman là travail web nous savons expressement dans temps qu'on rencontre Covid il c'est pas un bagage qui était aisé mais nous ka quoi à présent chez moun pour qui ça a été nécessaire pour quitter ces maman ça 3 semaines avant common entrance aller l'école pour vier refresher cerveau mémoire yo sous ça yo te fait en tourner là vini pour common entrance quoi nous gado vini lundi le 29 en chay c'est maman nous ici c'est maman grade 6 c'est maman ça qui écrit examination ça quoi pour vous parents qui ni ish aller parents comme moi qui ça dit oui nous ni ish nous ka dit bonne chance et nous ka dit nous ka quoi toute bagaille qui marcher sauver puis nous ka dit c'est maman la bonne chance aussi et nous ka souhaiter tout ça qui bon quand nous continuer ici à venir dans fin un programme nous à souci maintenant avec ça qui passé.
And we're coming back to COVID-19 news this past week. We had health authorities, they're scheduled to work towards improving efforts to address the COVID-19 pandemic in Saint Lucia following with the commencement of the Knowledge, Attitudes and Practices, that is the CAP survey. We have details on this project coming from Fernell Neptune from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness recently launched the CAP survey aimed at determining the knowledge, attitudes and practices towards COVID-19 among the St. Lucian population. Medical Surveillance Officer Dr. Gemma Sherry provided information on how persons can access the CAP survey.
The survey basically is a web-based survey and it's going to be done through SurveyMonkey. Persons are going to get an invitation and the invitation is going to be sent out via the 2 mobile companies, the telecommunications companies, Flow and Digicel, and the link to the survey is also going to be posted on Facebook, WhatsApp groups. So you would basically get an invitation and in that invitation there's a link to the survey.
Dr. Sherry also provided greater insight on the information that will be obtained from the survey to determine the best intervention for responding to COVID-19 in St. Lucia.
So when we talk about knowledge, we basically want to know what it is that persons know about COVID-19. So we basically want to know how much information that the public knows in terms of COVID-19. In terms of attitude, When it comes to attitude, it's basically what you believe. We want to know their thought process, how they think about certain things. So there's been a lot of information about mask. A person's really going to wear a mask. What you think? Do you think that you should wear a mask, for example, every time that you go out? In terms of the practices, what you do. So there's a lot about hand washing. A person's actually washing their hands, but it's not just washing your hands for the 20 seconds and washing it the way you're supposed to.
Dr. Sherry also provided greater insight on the information that will be obtained from the survey to determine the best intervention for responding to COVID-19 in Saint Lucia.
So the information that we get after we do the analysis, that information is going to help, one, to strengthen what the ministry is already doing. It's going to assist in the decisions that we take. So it's basically going to be used for policy direction and to basically strengthen what is currently happening to ensure the safety of each and every one of us.
The CAP survey will commence on Monday, June 29th and will run for 2 weeks. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am Colonel Neptune.
That was a report on the CAP survey that will be conducted coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness in order to get a better picture of how the COVID-19 is impacting our population and how they can improve efforts to address the effects of this pandemic here on island.
And most importantly, how people are receiving the information. Are they understanding what COVID-19 is? Are they understanding what the protocols mean? And that's very important for us because, you know, I think we don't embrace the idea of evidence-based decision making.
Review.
Right. So the collection of data is something, it's not just a Saint Lucia, unique to Saint Lucia, but in the Caribbean we often hear these international agencies, donor agencies, always ask for data, and it's important for us to be able to capture data in order for us to make sound decisions that will really impact individuals, because now from that data you're now being told by the population what it is that they need best.
Absolutely, absolutely. Carlton, you had something to say?
Oui, là il vini pour ça. Attention, moi t'ai juste sorti là pour un petit moment. Encore nous on avait d'où qui ça qui fait là il pour faire si maintenant avec yon ces nouvelles nous nous de parler discuter c'est là il vini pour affaires CAPS. Et puis ça c'est un côté nous t'en Dr. Sherry yo ka fait recherche ça intention c'est pour yo l'idée pour yo comprendre qui ça moun connaître nous attend toute information c'est nous attend moun parler de ça de c'est moun ça ka parler même bagaille là ka vie dit même bagaille là avec intention bien clair nous voulons ça avec nous voulons assurer moun comprendre ça y et puis là nous ayons ces recherche ça yo ka faire c'est pour qui ça moun comprendre. Est-ce que vous comprenez manière pour servir masque là? Pour qui ça va servir masque là? Est-ce que vous comprenez là venu pour Covid? Ça yo savent et puis yon c'est recherche ça yo ka faire c'est pour demander questions pour koyer. Moi me dit ça c'est un bon bagage. Excusez-moi, avec raison pour ça, c'est tel qu'on ça nous ni moun ka comprendre dit à présent 100% tout le monde oui couvert. Nous teni 19 monde qui étaient testés positifs. À présent nous garder 100% yo oui couvert. Et nous pas vle monde est monde comprendre. Moi vie dit est monde comprendre, c'est pas date qui nous pas ni Covid et ben nous pas rien Covid. Mais c'est monde qui te ni Covid là, yo a trouvé quand yo vit en communauté, yo a pris traitement et yo a vie. Mais nous quand on fait bon nous, l'autre monde quand tué, quand nous pour préparer quand nous pour savent la poko nan remède et qui c'est yon bagay nous ka ni pour agir et puis c'est yon bagay nous ka ni pour traiter. Quand question c'est là où parler ba monde qui dou en bagay quand garçon ouais moi ni Covid ouais en les fidjay moi, ça veut dire pas comprendre l'ani monde qui ni vermine et que ça transmette et que pas même ça quoi pour ver mon ek dit il prend les fidjay pour pas malade, ça c'est pas mi bagay nous ka dit quoi bon initiative tout bonnement là vini pour situation ça.
Thanks for that. And finally, we have a PAHO donation of personal protective equipment. The Pan American Health Organization once again is providing support in response to COVID-19 here in St. Lucia. We have our final report from Fernell Neptune.
The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, recently made a donation of personal protective equipment, PPEs, to the Ministry of Health and Wellness to aid frontline workers in the fight against COVID-19. Country Program Specialist for PAHO, Reynold Hewitt, says his organization remains committed to providing support in the prevention and control of the spread of COVID-19 in St. Lucia.
This is the fourth donation of PPEs to the government of St. Lucia, and we intend to work together to ensure that the health system is prepared to respond to any threat that COVID-19 presents. This donation of PPEs consists of 17,500 surgical masks, 550 N95 masks, and 800 testing swabs. PAHO stands resolute and in solidarity with all countries as we work with you in your response effort to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Minister for Health and Wellness, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, expressed gratitude to PAHO for the donation and says it is quite significant in St. Lucia's response to COVID-19.
Once again, we are seeing where PAHO has come to our assistance, as they usually do. This is just one part of many presentations that we have received and we are going to continue to receive from PAHO, our partners in this fight. I want to thank PAHO, WHO, for their contribution towards our fight against COVID-19 in St. Lucia. They have been instrumental in providing us with the necessary assistance, training, as well as supplies for us to combat this fight.
PAHO made a donation of testing swabs and both surgical and N95 masks. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am Fernell Neptune.
That was a report coming from Fernell Neptune from PAHO, making another donation of personal protective equipment to the government and people of St. Lucia. We also had a donation of medical equipment from the Republic of China, Taiwan, and that is another in a slew of supplies that have been coming from the Taiwanese government so far in our response to COVID-19. I hope we could squeeze that in perhaps, Roger. We're running out of time, but if you could just squeeze that report in so we can ensure that the people understand the extent of help that we're getting from friendly governments and international and regional institutions.
St. Lucia's frontline workers will be better able to fight against COVID-19 following the donation of medical and personal protective equipment from the government of the Republic of China, Taiwan. Taiwanese ambassador to St. Lucia, His Excellency Douglas Shen, applauded the achievements of St. Lucia in the fight against COVID-19 and says his government is pleased to provide support.
As you may see, COVID-19 changed so many things in this world. But there's one thing that never changed. That is the friendship between Taiwan and Saint Lucia. Today, I'm so excited to see the fourth batch of medical supplies from Taiwan to Saint Lucia. And this represents the love and the care of Taiwanese people and Taiwanese government to our friend in Saint Lucia.
Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Alan Chasney, expressed heartfelt gratitude to the government and people of Taiwan for the donation of medical equipment.
On behalf of, the people of St. Lucia, I want to thank you and thank Taiwan for its very generous donations. And the timing of these donations is important because we have a very big hurdle to overcome, and let us not underestimate how difficult it is going to be to reopen our borders.
Minister for Health and Wellness, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, expressed appreciation of the diplomatic relations between the two countries. Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac also appealed to St. Lucians to work together to fight against COVID-19.
It is very important for the people of St. Lucia to remember that this is not over. We may well be getting the other wave that the WHO has been speaking of when we reopen our borders. We are standing ready to be able to fight this challenge, but we need every St. Lucian to come on board and be mindful that the virus is still with us, and we have to make every effort to follow the protocols, to continue to follow the protocols, so that we can keep our island and our people safe.
The government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, made a donation of masks, PCR machines, protective and isolation suits, to name a few. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am Fernell Neptune.
Thanks to Fernell for giving us that update, those updates on the PAHO and the donation coming from the Republic of China, Taiwan. Those donations will go a long way in St. Lucia's response to COVID-19. Well, we've come to the end of yet another week in review. I just want to say that it's always a pleasure every Saturday morning sitting with you, Lady Lissa, and gentlemen, Tony and Cooks. Always a pleasure going over the week that was, the developments, and I think it just bringing it home to individuals who perhaps were on the move during the course of the week, not having a chance to look at all of the programming of NTN, just getting an understanding, us encapsulating it in one program. So again, to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. I open the floor to any final words here to you guys.
Final word from me. We would have heard during the budget presentation and the budget debates that you'd have heard the ministers give some indication of some of the projects, and you would have heard them say that further details will be coming soon. And that reference is made to, and the Prime Minister did say so, that when we have the launch of the economic recovery and resilience plan, and the launch of that is happening right after we have the Senate debates that will be happening in the coming week, and following that, so that economic recovery and resilience plan will really give all of that sort of flesh to what you heard in the budget address in terms of the assistance package. So we have to stay tuned for that, and how we are going to be able to see the implementation, how people can access, all of those questions will be able to be addressed in that plan.
Final word from me is that on Monday, in observance of International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, highlighting the theme, better knowledge for better care. That will be my theme on the afternoon program on Monday, right here on NTN. So you could join us live for that on Monday. And thanks again for joining us here this morning.
Pour moi just vle di dernier day morceau nous toucher à celui-là en donation qui a sorti hot PAO, c'est 4e fois yo ka assisté gouvernement Saint Lucia, yo ba plus passer 17,000 différents PPE qu'on nous a créé, c'est équipement pour protéger moun qui ka travail, c'est travail essentiel la masque, gants, yo ba swab, c'est ba yo ka tester 800 dingue, et puis nous t'en l'autre donation qu'a fait hot gouvernement China, yo ka di yo be play pour travailler, puis nous encore raison pour ça, c'est parce que nous nous pouvons finir combattre COVID. Pas du temps tout ça qui a fait là, au lieu de nous changer, nous combattre, nous essayer de rabattre goumer présence COVID. C'est bien important pour nous changer ça. Et toujours un plaisir pour nous, nous apprécier ou suivre nous pas connaître toute bagaille, mais nous essayer qu'on nous peut pour baou information nous et pour faire décision, et puis toujours bien pour Saint Lucien, l'autre pays, et puis ici même en Saint Lucie ka supporter qu'on nous bien cadeau tous les samedis ou ça nous ici à même là qu'on nous essaie ba ou toute nouvelle information nous ni qu'on semaine qui t'est passé ou ni un bon week-end nous ka essayer faire ça ici dernière fois nous deni pour aller colis nous pas aller mais moi vle des autres là il est venu pour Father's Day nous bail les Jessie et les autres là en chat ici so papa ici nous pas bail
And Jesse, what they did after that was just cut us out, and then they went on their adventure
down to the south.
So you were frolicking in the south of the island, leaving us behind.
I will not call you a liar, but I would say you're a stranger to the truth.
But just before we close off, I do want to give a final note. Coming Monday, we do have a panel discussion featuring financial institutions alongside Export Saint Lucia, discussing access to financing for the small, medium enterprises, yes, micro, right. That's
what time is that? What time on Monday?
Small, medium, micro enterprises.
Yeah. Right, there we go. So that's happening at 11 o'clock. On Monday morning. So join us for that right here on NTN.
I'm looking forward to that program as well.
You have a micro business? You want finance?
No, it's always good to know matters of national interest.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
That's right.
Folks have moved from micro to major.
Mahjong.
To be discussed.
Ladies and gentlemen, all our viewers, residents of Saint Lucia, Saint Lucians and well-wishers living in the diaspora, we'd like to thank you so much for watching. This week was Public Service Day, World Public Service Day, and with a special focus on essential workers. And we know in this COVID-19 scenario, these individuals have gone above and beyond, toiling while we were huddled away in lockdown, protecting ourselves from COVID-19. They were exposed. They've sacrificed so much. So if you know somebody who works in the public service, and more specifically who is in essential services, we hope that you could celebrate them and give them a word of commendation for this observance. All the time we have for now. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will see you again at the top of the week come Monday morning. In the meantime, we hope you could stay tuned for more of our NTN programming throughout the weekend while you rest and recuperate. My name is Jessie Leonce. On behalf of the entire team here at NTN GIS Studios, we do bid you a good afternoon. Cheers.